Hello, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an international social etiquette consultant and author of Etiquette Books, Etiquette, the Least You Need to Know, and Afternoon Tea Etiquette. If you would like to order my books, please make sure to email me at info@jamilamusayeva.com. I'll link it down below in the description box as well. If you are a new viewer on my channel, here I talk about etiquette, soft skills, self-development, all kinds of interesting and educational videos. If you're interested in all of that, make sure to subscribe as well as hit the like button. And if you're an old viewer, as always, welcome back to my channel. I am delighted to see you here. On my YouTube, on Instagram, as well as via emails, I get a lot of questions about how do I become an etiquette consultant myself? What is the journey like? What do I do? Where do I get the resources? Where do I educate myself? So instead of responding to each and every one individually, I decided to make a YouTube video dedicated exactly to my personal journey of becoming an etiquette consultant. I hope this video inspires you and probably helps you find the right resources for yourself in order to become an etiquette consultant if that's your dream. But before I get started, I want to make this disclaimer that my journey is personal to me. It is how I came to become an etiquette consultant. My journey is unique to me, and it doesn't mean that it's the only right way of becoming an etiquette consultant. You could be in a completely different field and find passion in it and pursue it, and you're still going to be a great consultant yourself if that's what your true passion is about. For me, I grew up in Azerbaijan. I was born and raised here. From a really young age, I was able to travel with my parents. I was exposed to international cultures and traditions. I learned a lot of foreign languages. As you've seen probably one of my videos about how to learn foreign languages, I speak 6 of them. So I always had this idea of different cultures and how things are done in different countries, traditions. So I was always interested in that. And as such, when I graduated from high school, I went to study my bachelor's degree in the US at the George Washington University. I graduated with a degree in international relations and minors in history and sociology. That was my educational background, and when I was studying international relations at GW, there was actually courses on etiquette, especially the business etiquette. We were allowed to attend these courses, and we were taught how to have a business conversation, how to behave properly during business interviews and meetings, and how to behave at dinner and lunch for business. So I already knew that there was this a field of education that was out there. It was etiquette, and there was a school of etiquette in Washington. So I already knew that this field of career existed. But it wasn't until much later that I really realized that that's what I wanted to do in my life. So I graduated from GW with a summa cum laude, which is the highest honor. And then I went to do my master's in Belgium. So I had this exposure to American culture, and then I did my master's in Europe, where I got the exposure to European culture. I did my master's in European politics and administration. It's not quite about etiquette, but really we were also trained how to hold ourselves during international meetings, how to talk to people from different cultures. We were taught about diplomatic protocol. So I already had a good idea about etiquette and protocol altogether, both through being in this field, basically in international relations, and doing masters in that as well, but also because I had met a lot of people from different cultures. Because we're all international students from all over the world, I was exposed to different cultures from that time on. Then I came back here to Azerbaijan, and I worked at Azerbaijan Diplomatic Academy, shortened called ADA. I recently posted some pictures from ADA where I delivered a lecture on diplomatic protocol to international diplomats that just arrived to Azerbaijan on their mission. No matter really how much of experience you have in this field of international relations, all of them at one point in their life need to refresh their memory about etiquette, protocol, and just good communication. So I was working here at ADA, and I was teaching as a part of summer school. I was teaching to young adults things like etiquette, things like communication, public speaking, body language. So it was a summer school that was designed to improve generally the young adults transition to adulthood and prepare them for life after school. So it was part of ADA EU summer camp that was driven in terms of educating and allowing them, giving those them those skills that would be required to survive in the 21st century workspace and university. So I was working there and doing all these different lectures in the summer camp. That's when I truly realized that I really loved the teaching part of my job rather than the one that made me write reports and made me, prepare some drafts. I loved the action rather than just sitting behind a desk and writing things, because to me, educating young minds means that you have some way an influence over their becoming an adult, and in a good way you could have a good influence and shape these minds in the right way. So it's a really great empowerment. It's a really great feeling of having this control and power that if you use it rightly, you can really reshape the world in a really good way. So for me, that's when I realized I really wanted to teach etiquette, and I just didn't want to do it just because I knew about etiquette, but I wanted to do it as a professional. I wanted to be certified. I had all the knowledge, I didn't really have the certificate. So that's when I started looking up etiquette schools around the world. And interestingly, in the beginning of the 20th century, there were a lot of etiquette or finishing schools in the world preparing young men and young women, particularly young women, to life after school, sort of preparing them for marriage and social life. And it was really difficult to find good schools that were accessible to me at that time. And I stumbled upon one school in the UK, which is called International Protocol Academy of London. That's when I saw their school, saw their program, and applied to become a certified trainer. So this was a weekly intensive program where we would have classes from early morning until evening to get to become a certified trainer. Then I would have to pass the exam, and then I would get the certification. It was a really interesting and unique experience. I got exposed to different museums, to an interesting dinner reception where we're taught how to properly eat a banana. That's something I actually didn't know before, so I was really taught that there. I enjoyed it very much. So I think it's a really good school, but again, it all depends on your budget and how accessible it is for you to travel to London to get educated in that school. Not everyone that graduated or not everyone that is certified in etiquette school is going to become an etiquette consultant. It really takes a lot more effort afterwards, after you get the certification, to actually start teaching etiquette. So when people ask me what are some schools that you recommend and that will make me an etiquette consultant, I don't have a definite answer to that because there aren't that many schools in the world in general. The oldest and the most prestigious one is the one in Switzerland called Institut Pierre Lefeu. It's probably the one that survived from the 40s, from the 50s. The rest of the schools have closed. So it's the oldest one and the most prestigious, and I would say the most expensive one. But it all really depends on your budget, how you're able to travel for how long. All of those factors will play a role. So I can't say there's one best school. All schools have something to offer. But to me personally, a school is just for you to get a certification. Having gone through a school and getting the certification doesn't mean that you are going to be a successful etiquette consultant. You're going to be able to launch a successful etiquette career. It's, I think, applicable to any profession, really. If you graduate from a good school with a good degree in economics, that doesn't make you the best economist. It doesn't mean you're going to have a stellar career as an economist. It really depends on what you do with the knowledge that you've gained and how you're going to apply it. So when I came back, now having the certificate and now being able to do these lectures professionally and stating that I'm an etiquette consultant have really broadened the horizon of the work that I've done. Before it was at ADA, Azerbaijan Diplomatic Academy. From there onwards, I was able to do private workshops both in Azerbaijan but also travel internationally, offering my workshops in different countries around the world and doing it to a private group of individuals that have requested my workshops. This is something that I still do as a part of my job, and I also do offer online private sessions via Zoom. So instead of, if someone for some reason can't travel or I can't travel, then we can arrange a Zoom workshop where we could address any kind of questions that a client has. I do etiquette consultations to clients. It doesn't have to be a special workshop. They might have some questions that they want to address before an interview or before going to a dinner or lunch, and we have a little Zoom call to discuss all of that. So it was really my decision that was really goal-driven, that I had to become an etiquette consultant, and I really wanted to dedicate my lifetime to it as a career. So I think when you finish the school, you have to keep in mind that that's your goal and that you have to work every single day towards that goal. So I graduated from the school in 2017, and now it's 2022. And for 4 years now I've been doing this job, and every day there's something interesting. With every client, the session is very different. I'm always curious and I'm always open-minded towards my clients, because there are a lot of things that I learn from them. I have clients from all over the world, and sometimes they tell me how things are done in their culture. I don't consider that because I'm an etiquette consultant I know it best, or I know all traditions and cultures. I don't. I'm always open to learning about new ways or about old ways of doing something and learning the history, because I think that comes from the fact part of my minor in the university was history. I've always been interested in history. So that was my journey of how I became an etiquette consultant, and how I became an etiquette author was also linked to the fact that I, as an etiquette consultant that just finished the school, was in search of books that would allow me to gain a deeper knowledge, a better understanding, better visual understanding of how things are done. So while I was doing this course in UK, I was in London, and I went to all bookshops and I asked them, do you have books on etiquette? And they would show me this little shelf where there would be like 3 or 4 books. And I would ask, is that all? And they would say, yes, that's all we have here. And some of the books were either really old, they were like big dense books that had a lot of text and no visual images to help accompany that text. Or some of them, I'll show you as well, were really beautifully designed but didn't have much of information. So because I was a sort of a buyer that was in need of such a product, I thought to myself that if there are no products in the market that suit my needs, I will create that product for people just like me, probably in search of the same kind of books. I came back to Azerbaijan and I thought to myself, I need to make a book that will cover the basics of etiquette that everyone has to know, so the least you need to know, and I'll make it as easy, comprehensible, accessible, and logical as I can for the reader, accompanying with a lot of images so they can read it by themselves. If it's an adult reading with a child, the child can also see the picture and understand the rules. I read these books with my children as well. They're easy, they're good for practicing English, they're really good at trying to remember the rules visually. And that's basically how my books were born. Out of a need for the product, I created the product itself. So here I have a pile of books that were the first ones that I purchased when I was doing my etiquette training, and I'll show you some glimpses from the insides of my book so you can see how different they are from the things that were in the market. This is called A Butler's Guide to Table Manners. It's a really interesting book. It is black and white. There's a lot of interesting information in this book, but somehow the visual images in this book are not really satisfying to the eye. They're not very clear. It's really not comprehensible what the author wants us to do or doesn't want us to do, but it's a good book in terms of understanding the table manners. There is Debrett's A to Z Modern Manners, which is also a good book, also has a lot of interesting information, but again, as I said, there are no visuals in this book at all, so even the rules that you read about, you're not really clear how to imagine them, how to visualize them. This is a book that actually inspired me to write the afternoon tea etiquette book because it's called Tea Fit for Queen. When I purchased this book, I thought this is about afternoon tea ceremony, but it wasn't about that. It's about desserts and about pastries that the queen loves, and it has the recipe for the desserts as well as the beautiful images that accompany it. This book was actually visually my inspiration for creating the afternoon tea etiquette, which I'll show you insides a little bit in this video. Another book that's world famous, and I think it's this famous and this expensive because it's called Tiffany's Table Manners for Teenagers. The book is really short. It has very little of information, just a few lines here and there. The illustrations are very pretty, but they're really hard to comprehend in terms of what they want us to do. I think they're aesthetically beautiful, but visually not very comprehensible. Then I have this really thick book that is called Oops. There was a bookmark here, and I have my pencil here. I'm still reading it. It's a really old book. It's called The Complete Book of Etiquette by Amy Vanderbilt. I think it's an older, because as you can tell from the inside of the pages, it's from 1952. So this is an old book. It is really dense to read, really difficult to read, but it gives you a very deep dive into etiquette. Some of the rules that are written here are no longer applicable and no longer important. So if you're not trying to do a career in etiquette, I don't think you should get this book, because this is more for those that want to be professional in this. And this is another book that I have. It's a Miss Manners in the era of fake etiquette. It's written in a very interesting way. It's almost like someone writes a letter to Miss Manners and she responds to her reader with it's sort of you're reading her exchange of letters with the readers, and it's a really interesting read, but it's not the basics of etiquette. It's written in a very literature language, almost like you're reading a novel. So not really practical for those that want to know how things are done and wants to know it fast because they have to attend a dinner or a lunch, or they have to get dressed and need to know the dress codes. So when I was buying these books, I read them all. I gained a lot of knowledge out of them, obviously, because I needed to do my research, but none of them really fit my idea of what a book that would give you just a nutshell of etiquette. And that's why I created my own books. So Etiquette, the least you need to know, it's called this way because that's basically, the book has everything you need to know, the basics. It's really visual, it's really comprehensible. I try to keep the text as short as possible so that I wouldn't bore the reader with a lot of text in it. And then I have here my afternoon tea, which I think is a beautiful book that could be gifted to anyone. But especially I think girls would really enjoy this book because we love hosting afternoon tea parties. And it's a really good book for as a gift, or just if you want to, you're a lover of afternoon teas and you want to have a book dedicated to exactly that. I think this book is a perfect one for that. So this was my journey to becoming an etiquette consultant as well as to becoming an etiquette author. I hope that you enjoyed this video and this video inspires you to go pursue your own passion and try to find a need in the market for the product that you would love to have but still don't, and work on creating it. If you don't have what you want, you have to create it. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!